I'm gonna blame you.
You're gonna blame me? No. Hey, everybody. We were talking backstage. Um, Tom was distracting me. So see,
Mhm.
I just threw you right under the bus. I did that to my own teammate. Just kidding. No. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Saturday night. If I'm a little loopy, I did a 3-hour show with Ginger today. We did some incredible readings, and I'm just kind of like, still coming down from it, still grounding. So it's just, if I'm a little loopy, I'm just, it's just been a really interesting day, let me tell you. And
Yeah.
this evening, I have Tom, Early Ritual, joining me again. And our guest tonight is Jeff Bailey from Tarot Ask Backwards. So, and hi, Ramon. And just perfect timing, because I was just about to say, and Jeff will be back again with me tomorrow evening, along with this gentleman right here, Ramon Moonscarab, for another evening of tarot and poetry. So we hope to see you all there. And before we get started, Tom, do you plan on having any other appearances this weekend or next week with any other fellow readers, or anything you want to
Nothing
share?
planned.
Nothing,
Nothing planned. I'll say that.
nothing planned. And how
You
about
never
you,
know.
Jeff?
Tomorrow's kind of packed for me, as Sundays can be. I have Gerald. I don't have Gerald. Gerald has me.
We all have
Um,
Gerald.
Okay.
at 11 Eastern tomorrow. And if Hershey and hopefully Tarot Your Way, Tom, will have me 1 Eastern, I'll be on their intuitive, what is it? Interactive Intuitive Tarot Journal. And yeah, and I'll be on, of course, with Heather again and Ramon at 8 Eastern.
8. Yes.
And there are some things in the works for next week. I'm just trying to iron them out with the other person before we go ahead with them. More about not so much the time, but how we're going to do it.
Very cool.
Nice.
So to start out, let's see. First person in chat to even beat Steven is JR. Hello, JR.
Wow. Disappointed in you,
Welcome.
Stephen.
Yes. And then of course there's the orphan with the most, Cosmic Orphan, Steven. And Hershey, the shadow reader. Hello, hello.
Hi, Hershey.
And I heard there was a great scavenger hunt, Tom was telling me. So you guys didn't get a chance to catch. I got to play back a little bit myself over on Hershey's channel. It was PD from Tarot Lounge and Brian from Blushing Nerd Tarot. So go check that out.
Yeah. I mean, Heather and my episode was the best one.
Yeah, I mean,
But this was a
we
very
really
close.
set a high bar.
Yeah, we set a really high bar. But this one was really. This was a good episode.
Tom, we were the original American Idol. No one could replace.
Exactly.
us.
Yeah, we're real world New York.
Justin
I don't know.
and Kelly. Oh my goodness! Yeah, here we go. We're starting. Oh, silly Heather. Okay, free will. This should be interesting. Yeah, and like I mentioned in the beginning, and in the description box and in chat, this is just a very open and honest discussion. This is a kind of like a hot topic in the at least in our community, and a lot of people have differing opinions on this. And I thought this would be a great just conversation to have, because not everybody's always going to agree or be on the same page. And this is just a place for sharing our own personal opinions and experiences, and just to have a very open and honest conversation. And there, of course, will not be any, derogatory comments or, you're wrong, I'm right kind of energy or attitude, which I would not ever really anticipate from anybody in our chats. But in the event, you something really kind of touches you, and as long as you can, as long as it's put in a positive manner where everyone's, opinions are respected, That's great. So we just need, to be mindful, about that. But chat is open to free conversations and sharing their thoughts and ideas and feelings on the topic as well. So that's what, and I like my chats and my shows to be a safe space for people to share, because I know sometimes we can get into other chats and the topic might come up and it's just very, to some people cut and dry, and other points of view aren't really necessarily given a chance to be addressed or said. Well, that's quite, what I mean. There's so this here is kind of like allows us all to kind of get our feelings out and share our ideas. So now that I'm done rambling, hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. Ramble on. So we have Beth Espacia Rising is here. I have my fellow teammate here, Team Depeche. We got Tom. Let's see, Cosmic Orphan, of course, tailgate parties. Oh, I don't know about that, but that sounds like fun. So yeah, some lovely banter between Tom and Steven early on. That's great.
And you and Steven.
and me included, because so everyone's wondering what the hell. Just a lot of us invite Steven to do some live videos or to come on, but because Steven needs to keep his privacy because of personal things in his life, we're like, well, you could always, we could just hear the voice and, just have, you could either do maybe come in with gloves on your hands or just show your magic hands. And Tom said, or he can just ask Miss Tarot D to borrow one of his wigs, come dressed up in drag, and nobody would.
The safe space, Steven.
So he says he's more brunette, but I don't know. Sometimes maybe a little redhead. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. So moving on, trying to make sure I don't miss saying hello to everybody. Hello, Karen Care Bear is here. Fatima, hello again, Fatima. Good to see you. And yeah, I can't believe February is almost over, and there's an extra day this year for the month. So, and if my voice is a little, it's been a long day. Hello, Teresa. Good to see you. And of course, we have the lovely Ramon Moon Scarab, one of the best voices in YouTube, along with this guy right here. And thank you for putting all the links in there, Steven.
Thank you,
You're
Steven.
awesome. We appreciate you so much. Let's see. Welcome to, sorry about the cross point on Tom Link. Oh, okay. I don't know. All right. I'm just going to keep going. Gerald has 100 things coming up. Oh, okay. Yep. Hashtag overachiever.
Yep.
Let's see. And thank you, Steven. This is the link for Jeff's book.
Thank you, Steven.
So some good writ. Get out there and get yourself a copy. And Rosanna is here. So just making sure, because we're getting 14 people in. Yes, Scavenger Hunt was hilarious. That's from what I hear. Well, Hershey says it's the best one so far.
Other than our episode.
I would have to, respectfully disagree, but she's the content creator, so she has a bit of a say. But no, from when I popped in and saw, it looked like it was going to be a great show, y'all.
It was great. Highly recommended for everybody.
Hello, Shazad. Good to see you. Brian and his Build-A-Story. Okay, that's one way to. Okay, so hello, Jamie Johnson. It's been a while. Good to see you, my dear. And Sylvia from Colorful Foresight. Hello. Or the
Sylvia.
Rotation card. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Okay.
That was,
I guess,
you got to watch it to understand.
I guess so. It's like what that's saying. You had to be there.
You did.
So hello,
You did.
Delia. And there's Jeff. Hello, Jeff. And I have a third leg. Okay. Yeah. And and Tom's just shaking his head going, no.
Steven's being Steven tonight. So
I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Okay. This conversation is tanking really quick. So let me just make sure I say hello to everybody. And again, like I say, I apologize for my voice. It's been a long day. There are a few of you in here with a third leg. Yeah. All righty. So again, gentlemen, thank you for joining me on a Saturday. The last time Tom and I got together, we were talking about what was our topic?
Oh my God, I don't even remember now at this
I
point.
don't even, but it was
We were all over the place, honestly.
yeah, but we had a main focus at one point.
We
because-
did.
and that's why we liked. Let's do something on free will because Jeff, I think you were in the chat, and
Yeah.
free will got mentioned up, and I said, you know what? Wait a minute, what is my mouse doing? Okay. Oh, all right. Hold on a second. I gotta go out and come back. StreamYard is freezing up on me. Be right back, gentlemen.
No problem. It's our show now.
It's ours. So, given that it's ours, and given it's about free will,
Mm.
I just find it's at odds with a lot of what's said in this community. Not this channel per se, but this idea that everything is preordained and you're supposed to surrender to it, and yet you have free will. But yet we come down and God already knows what we're going to do, or it knows, source knows, as if it were a mosaic and it's already preordained, like the star card, Hershey. I don't know. I just think it's especially at odds with people who come on and a lot of the channels where they talk about the ascension and they talk about all that. They go right into the argument, well, you can make your own choices and you can manifest. Manifestation, I believe in. So I've got to say, as far as free will is concerned, that is an ability. But as far as the notion that we're all connected, which is espoused so much in all these channels, that we're all part of the universality and we're not separate, and all of us collide into one another as light beings and all that, it just sort of defeats the purpose of arguing that, to me anyway, free will plays that big a role in a life that in the beginning has no real I won't say it's a losing game from the start, but it seems to me as if certain things are written in the stars and they're going to happen anyway. And to surrender, they say, on one hand, is one way of embracing it and embracing your fear and not giving in to fear and rising. And yet, by the same token, too, you can manifest and you can change the outcome of things. But I mean, aren't those things that aren't going to happen to the exclusion of everything else that's been put in place for you, that they say you've come down to do? You know what I mean? Like you've come here and incarnated and agreed to be the drunk, uncle or what, you know what I mean? So I just find I don't like get it. I don't get into an argument with people who think free will is everything, because it should be about everything. But like that example I used with you, Heather, you go out, you make an effort, you do not drink and drive. Someone comes by you, hits you, you're in an Uber, yet you are at will to someone else, but you've made the choice not to do something. So it's just like, I feel like there are mixed messages to this in a spiritual sense, because I don't think, to put it diplomatically, it's always about free will. And that's how I'm going to start it.
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Oh, sorry. All I was going to say is, I mean, I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying to some extent, but I think you kind of start off from the viewpoint that maybe these things are preordained, and I don't know if it's preordained in that sense. I mean, but I think this might be the difference between, I consider myself more of a atheist with agnostic leanings, I'll say. So I don't look as at a necessarily a higher power or a sense of preordainment in that things are written that will happen to you. But at the same time, shit's gonna happen to you that you have no control over. And it's going to happen. But I don't know if what happens is necessarily ordained to happen. I think shit just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And like your example with Heather, saying, she doesn't drink and drive, she's in an Uber, she's, but you could still get into like like there could still be an accident that, but she's done everything she can to mitigate that.
So they
But it
took
still
my
can
free
happen.
free will away from that. So this is
Yeah.
kind of where, and then when that happens, someone says, "Oh, but wait, I got another answer for that. Soul contracts." And then
Yes.
that
Yeah.
gets thrown in. And so it's just like, are we trying too hard to try to, again, we all will have different experiences in our lives and how we feel about things. And sometimes someone else's experience and how they have a definition of free will contracts are going to be totally different, because let's say, like with Jeff, he's had a whole other experiences in his life that would
Mhm.
lead him to believe otherwise, where Tom will have other things that have happened that may be different. And so for a majority of every, saying, well, certain individuals just really, trying to say, no, this is right, this is the concept, this is what it is. And it just kind of, for me, it shuts the door. And it's almost kind of like, do I dare say it, it's like a gatekeeping. It's like this it becomes such a strong group think slash cult
Yeah.
like thinking, where you're completely dismissed if you don't have the same opinion, or if you want to try to play, I don't like using necessarily the word devil's advocate, but if you want to play an opposing view,
Hmm.
if that doesn't fit in a certain cliques or a certain individual's criteria or their beliefs, then it's like, well, maybe we don't want them in this, because then that's negative thing. So it's really, it just comes down to, that's why for me this year, my word for this year was authenticity. It's like, for me, I can listen to what Tom says, I can listen to what Jeff says. I know Val from Dragonfly Crystals speak a lot on this, so just Marina, Allie, a lot of people, Gerald in our community, a lot of us, Betsy Palmer, all we all
Hmm.
have differing viewpoints. Some are
Yeah.
more closer to the other, but it's like, what am I looking for? I'm saying it's like, these are all amazing facets. It's like
Yeah.
life is a big crystal in a way, if you could think about it. All these different, it's all these different facets, and for some of us, this facet might shine brighter, or might feel or look truer to others, because, like, again, and as also is that we all can agree that what is beyond us is,
Yeah.
our human comprehension. So for me, some people to say, no, this is what this is what my guides are saying, and this is what I believe, so this is it. But then again, it's just like, but in another breath, you'll say, but you know, the universe is so mind expansive, we can't really know everything. So therein lies kind of, we need to have room for open and honest conversations and just sharing,
Yeah.
without, again, like a group think or a gatekeeping or anything like that.
We're all different facets, but when you have to put us all together to make us shimmer.
Yes.
But it's it's interesting because I feel like, yeah, I mean, I love the fact that we all have different viewpoints on this, and yeah, I mean, nobody does it exactly the same way that I do it, and nobody does the same way that you do it, Heather. Nobody does the same way that Hershey does it, and everybody has their own take on it, which I think is great. and I love that we can have there's venues for us to have the ability to talk about those different
Mhm.
views and different ideas and kind of learn from each other. And I'm a big fan of just taking what you want from here, all over the
Mhm.
place, and kind of putting it all together into and to the belief system that you want to have. Like, I think it's important, and I think free will is it's a difficult concept, I think, to comprehend, because there's so many different levels of it.
Mhm.
I think,
Mhm.
you know,
Experiences. Yeah.
there's different experiences, and there's different like, you have free will over certain things, but you don't even have free will over your body. Like, you know, you can have a cancer, you can have like anything growing inside you that's going to
Right. And
control you. But
as
you have free will over the choices you make then at that point. So it's like
at
it's a
that point you do, but at the point at which you're making decisions that could lead to cancer may or may not lead to
yes,
cancer, as you put astutely.
yes.
So that's another thing with it. You could smoke for 50 years and not get, so it's
Mhm.
like a pebble. I mean, it can ripple out. It can and then another pebble, and then those set circles overlap, and then
Yep.
to me, it's like it's more about the way the universe was formed is one big accident, okay? And everything that came thereafter, right, out of nothingness, we've been fighting against entropy, or the idea that systems are in disorder, or the chaos theory.
Mhm.
So we put these constructs into place like government and whatever, but guess what they're doing? They inhibit free will. So yet by the same token too, they have to put these in place because they don't
Yeah.
trust you to make the right decisions about everything, about your body, about
Mhm.
your hi Sheila, about
Mhm.
your life or about someone else's life, because it could impact them, even with the example that Heather or I used with Heather. And I think the
Yeah.
biggest problem with that is in a spiritual in this community where right now supposedly in the 5D, some people get left behind, and there are people that are going around propagating the notion that if I do this, Tom, or I do that, I'm going to make
Mhm.
it, and I'm going to manifest, and you're going to be left behind, and if you don't do this within a certain period of time, you're going to be
Yeah.
left behind. All of that I find very, very constricting to the idea of
Yes.
embracing free will, because what it shows me is that on a practical, everyday basis, if you are subject to the confines of trying to make a living and trying to eke out your way in life, that you're somehow deficient, and that's
Mhm.
why I find the avenue to say something like this in a community that's quote spiritual very
Mhm.
important.
Mhm. Very
Does that make
interesting.
sense? I
Yes.
mean, I don't
Yes,
know.
it does. There have been a lot of comments, so I'm just going to jump to a few of those. Care Bear says, Jeff, that makes my brain hurt when I think about it. So true. This was from the beginning
Oh,
when
wow,
I think
okay.
I was just coming back in with what you were sharing. And Hershey just said, Star card is a heavy card if you do deep dive into it. So let me just kind of unstar here as I go along because a lot of people are weighing in, and I love this. So Beth has a couple. So no absolute determinism, but how does fate weigh in?
Again, you could look at it from the perspective that Tom said, that it's a balance between trying to work both those facets of
Yeah.
non-intervention, meaning no free will, with free will. But the problem I have with that is it's like a minus and another minus, because you don't necessarily know what you can control and what you can't control, or what thing, just like with the cancer idea, what's going to lead to this outcome or that outcome.
Yeah.
You can't always know. So to me, it's like we're in a chaos theory. It's all in and it kind of
Yeah.
is, and there are people that will put, if you want to throw the matrix into it too, I mean, to
Mm.
me, this
Everything.
topic is so big and so wide, it's so expansive that you could do more than one show on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, we're not going to solve it tonight, guys.
No, no, we're not. And with no absolute determinism, I'm assuming that means that everything that happens to us is not predetermined. I'm wondering if that's what Beth means. I mean, there are some things I think that we do arrange before we come here, but for me, my understanding, my experiences in my life is that um, free will can easily be taken away from me. So I don't think it's as an absolute that everything happens. But for me, my perspective, and this is my perspective only, is that where free will comes in that we have is how we react to what happens to us. And an example if I can give is that I know it's kind of heavy, but when I was younger, I was abused by a family member, my brother. And now for me, my free will, I could have been like, well, how, I'm hurt and I'm going to, anybody that's young, I'm going to hurt and I am, and no, I decided to, you know, take that experience. I didn't want to be termed a victim or anything. And an early age, starting at least at 14, 15 years old, I turned around and it was my free will to be able to start sharing my story with others because once I did that, since I was 15, 16, I've had multiple people tell me that I helped them be able to start removing the guilt and the shame and to be able to let family members know what has happened to them. And that for me is taking an example of something that was not my free will. I did not want to be abused and touched like that. But for me, my free will came where I could establish how I wanted um, to move forward in my life. So sometimes we have to be careful that this whole free will thing doesn't kind of become a crutch either, or an excuse to use for not taking responsibility.
Or
For
someone else diminishing what they've done to you,
Hmm.
right?
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
So where, to me, how much of it is this and how much of, and it's not about which is worse to think or which is not worse to think. I just think we started from an accident, right? An accident of fate created this world. So if you take it from that idea and then you say, and then you talk about not being fearful, right? Which is a big one on these channels now with this whole ascension bit. And
Mm.
you know, coming out of your introverted self, which is what I'm, told to do, and told to go to poetry slams and not be afraid. And these are choices whereas it's easier to sit virtually in front of a computer and do it. Um,
Yeah.
so in other words, what I'm trying to say is it's not an excuse for me to dismiss what I need to do for myself to say that there is no free will. And will freely, no pun intended, admit that because just as Heather said, it can be a crutch on one end to dismiss free will. It's a crutch or not to, or yeah, it's
yeah,
a crutch not
Yeah.
to involve free will. Okay. So I'm guilty of what she's saying on one level, and I can admit that. But this idea that our spirituality and our wholeness, if you will, is attached to making and manifesting through decisions, the right decisions to get to the higher plane, I think is misguided.
wait, could you repeat that again?
This idea that with spirituality through manifestation and through the choices we make,
Yeah,
which may lead to the right ones or may lead to the ones we don't want. If we don't believe that every choice is really just an experience, meaning there are no mistakes, there are just experiences,
okay, yeah,
then we have a better foundation going forward. But I don't think it's within human nature to believe that because we are having a human experience. So we come down harder on ourselves. There's no one who's, because of free will, we have that ability to second guess ourselves and doubt ourselves and do all those things. So it makes it that much harder, I think, to say that free will is the construct that can positively define our lives in some ways. Because in some ways, to me, if you're making wrong decision after wrong decision, or you're making some that are wrong and some that are right, and you're coming into good fortunes but not really knowing what you did to get there, how do you weigh that so you can repeat that if none of this is supposedly, or some of it's an accident and some's not? It's like, how much of it is you and how much of it is the universe? And how much of it is stupid luck, and how much of it is, if you believe in luck? That's another thing around here. A lot of, not here, but a lot of people don't believe in luck.
Yeah.
But how do you define probability and the lottery? And it's just, to me, it's such a big philosophical topic that I think needs to be addressed in this community, because there seems to be more of a high ground, or a holier than thou idea that free will is everything. Yet at the same time too, you're told it is preordained. A lot of it, you make the choice, you choose your parents, you have the soul contracts, as Heather said, you have these gifts that you come in with, or you come in with past traumas from other lives, and you're constantly living in this cycle from one life to the next, unless you can fix it and do the work that someone like Hershey does on her channel, or others are doing before Hershey. Where does it all start? Where does it end? Does it work?
Yeah. I was requested here. Hold on a second. Yeah, Tom, I was looking here. Stephen, I'm going to take yours down just really quick, because Sheila's been, let's see. And I can just go back as far as this first one. So Sheila began with, I don't believe in fate, though, because you can change things in your own actions going forward. I'm looking for what Tom wanted me to point out. Yes, your actions can cause harm to others, and yes, it can return to you. Be careful how you treat others.
Yeah, I think it's before that. Yeah.
All of this? Okay.
Yeah, it's before all of that. It was
I'm not able, StreamYard's not letting me go up
I mean,
past that.
yeah, so basically, I mean, I wanted to comment on, Sheila had said something about
Here, let me
earlier
find,
about creating
here, let me see.
creating your own reality.
Yeah.
And that's what, that she doesn't believe in fate. We create our own realities, is what
You
she
didn't
said.
do anything wrong, Sheila. It's just I'm on StreamYard, honey, and I can't go back up. So
Yes.
no worries, sweetheart. And there, yeah, she says you create your own reality.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, like, I mean, that was especially very early on when I was really kind of forming my belief system. I was heavily influenced by the likes of like Jung and Robert Anton Wilson and Crowley, the ideas of Peter J. Carroll and Phil Hine and a bunch of chaos magicians and stuff like that. And a lot of quantum mechanics stuff, some of the ideas from like Fred Alan Wolf and stuff like that, some of that really looking at like quantum reality ideas, and really just that idea that you create your own reality, that everything that you are experiencing is created in this paradigm, this reality tunnel that you've created, and that like maybe there's millions of branches that come off of it and everything like that. I don't know if I necessarily still agree with that thinking, but I do think that a lot of what we experience and consider our realities is generated by ourselves. Just because we filter so much information that comes in to us, and we filter out so much of it, and just look at the tiniest little bit of the data that comes into our bodies and our minds, and we our brains have a very good habit. It's a survival tactic that allows us really. It just kind of makes everything understandable to what we have experienced already. So this is where the idea of like microbiases and biases in general come from. That your reality is being filtered through your, well, one, your biology, and then just your brain, chemical structure, everything. Your synapses are firing certain ways. You've maybe opened different pathways than you have,
Mhm.
than somebody else may have, for whatever reasons, because of different experiences that have triggered certain things within your thinking. Um, so Sheila's very short, small comment about that is like really opened up a lot of the thinking that I used to really. This is the stuff that I used to really contemplate about,
Mhm.
um, and trying to make sense of, and that's what was helping me make sense of the world and create the system of belief and magic that I want to work in. And I think that's why I was initially drawn so much to something, the ideas of like chaos magic and things like that, because that's the whole thing. It's like you want to believe one thing, you shift your paradigm, believe something different, work in that system for a while, get what you need out of it. You know, shift again, do whatever you need to do. And I mean, that's a very simplistic look at chaos magic, but that's a part of it. To some extent. Some people will argue that's not the case, but
And then
it is
that
for a lot.
issue too comes into play about your reality is what you filter and what you don't filter. Okay, so that goes to the idea of objective reality then. Um, where if there's an objective reality, shouldn't there be an idea or consensus about where free will would fall and what we can control and what we
And what
can't
we can't
control?
control. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, I guess there is, and I think that's the thing that we have to think about. I mean, we have, and it's kind of goes back to your whole thing about governments, and we create. There's so many. It's so many like Venn diagrams, basically. Of there's
Mhm.
your circle of just you, and then there's that's part of the society you're in. But like honestly, if we want to really start breaking this down, it's like your household, then it's your
your
town,
community.
your
Yeah.
community, and then there's also that other community, like this online community that we have here that we're all part of. There's all these, and there's different rules within it that we play within.
And
Um,
dynamics. Yeah.
yeah, different dynamics, different everything. And but to have those group things, which is why you need the idea of a government or something in that sense, you kind of need that to, because that's the whole idea of like a common experience. Um, I don't necessarily understand all of Jeff's experience. I don't understand all of Heather's experiences. And we need to have that representation across the board to allow for us to make the correct decisions as a society for ourselves. Yeah. Yeah, this is crazy story, Beth. Like,
I have a close friend who had a
yeah.
premonition before she got on a plane, refused to get on it. A car jumped the mean and her car head on leaving the airport. I mean, this is where I'm saying, with free will, we have free will in the here and now, in the moment, with what we can control. But there are going to be other people's free will that, so to me it kind of, it does, I don't want to say one and negates, but like someone had mentioned earlier in chat, there's like a cause and effect. I think it was Jeannie, Miss Moonlight. And yes, there is going to always be kind of like a cause and effect, what they talk about, I guess, called the butterfly effect or whatever.
Yeah.
So for me, that just kind of challenges the statement that, oh, we have free will in our lives. But no, there will be times when people will take that free will out of our hands. And so only, for me, just my kind of thing where I just kind of want to like bang my head on the wall sometimes. It's just like, not everything is of our free will. and if someone else's free will comes in and affects mine. Again, to me, that's more cause and effect, and maybe free will might be the wrong label for it. Maybe it's personal responsibility or
Causality, or an effect, or
yeah. So whereas not everything that's happened to me,
Yeah.
is because a lot of shit that's going on in my life right now, excuse my language, I didn't free will into this. I have worked hard and diligent to try to keep certain things, but certain
Yeah.
things still happen. Is
Yep.
this my free will? That no. So for me, it's basically, for me, the free will is not an end all be all like a lot of
Yeah.
people. For me, free will is like how to react to situations. Are you going to be proactive or reactive? How are you going to? Again, there's the responsibility factor. I had a cousin who wanted to be a chef. She just got into a high school in Buffalo that was designed for culinary school. She went to go visit an aunt with her sister, got off the bus, and boom, 16 years old, she said, because she got hit by somebody who was being a reckless driver. So their free will
Hmm.
ended, you know what I mean? And then when I've had this conversation with other people, they're like, well, it was a soul contract. And so it's just like,
uh,
to be able to defend their own points of view, people will throw in other things. And that's why it's kind of like,
Well, yeah. I mean, I think people need
it gets
to
frustrating sometimes.
people have to have answers, I think, for themselves sometimes, and there's things that come up
To
and
change.
to help themselves deal with some of these outside forces. But like to your point about like, taking away your free will. I mean, the reality is there's what 8.4 billion people on this planet right now or something like that. If they all have free will, everybody's free will is going to bump into each other's every now and then. It's
Hmm.
just it's just going to
So it
happen.
kind of negates itself. And really
So
quick, I don't know
yeah,
if you saw
hmm
this, Tom. Early Ritual, you would love the TV show
I yeah, I haven't
Debs.
seen it. I haven't
Okay.
seen it, but I've heard about it. So it is one of the things that's been recommended to me before, but I haven't watched it yet. So
Okay, so chat's really jumping. I wanted to make sure that it got people's comments shared. And like Sylvia here said, some enlightened people say there is no such thing. So it depends on, again, our
depends.
perspective.
Yeah.
And hello, Lexi. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Soul
Hey, Lexi.
contract stuff is so gross. It's a hot take. Well, I don't know about gross, but soul contracts for me,
It can
and
be.
again, that comes from, we do not have all the this, like I said, I'm just kind of reiterating is that the same people that say no, there's soul contracts, free will, it's done and done. There's nothing else to call
Yeah.
it. It's something that we have to accept, but at the same time, they'll say, but the universe is so immense, and our brains and our understanding of the spiritual is so small, then that completely invalidates for me that, I mean, you can have that, but to say to people that no, this is, cut in stone, this is what it is, you know it's just, for me, it invalidates a lot of other people's personal experiences.
Yeah.
And I know I've lost quite a bit of chat and I might not be able to get it back.
It's been all over the place from what I've
The
seen.
universe allows the balance, so not bad in her honest opinion.
I mean, it
Okay.
does balance. It does to some
Yeah,
extent.
we don't have all the answers, Sheila. Exactly. There's so much outside of our scope of understanding of the spiritual. I guess that's why
Mhm.
we come here to kind of, figure things out or to have the experience. But, for me to have someone dictate to me or make me feel invalid or make others feel their understanding or their experiences or how they feel are invalid because my guides say, or this is what, and again, you start to create that kind of group thing, kind of cult where there's no room for open discussion, open thinking, sharing. Because for all of us, we all resonate differently. We're all been raised with or without religion. Um, some of us have, those religions have maybe created a certain base for us, a certain blueprint. which we expand off on. And as we grow, we adjust, we change. Because I know myself, I'm not the same as I was in my 20s when I started discovering the metaphysical and spiritual world outside of my church. And so to be able to just stay like in one mind, think, and for me, just really quick, something that Jeff had mentioned earlier that I just want to add my little 2 cents on, and this may be very well another topic. I'm not sure. I know I just lost it. It was like, wait a minute, I know what I want to say, and I just completely lost it. So maybe I wasn't meant to say it yet. It'll come back, I think, when it's meant to.
Come on, Heather, you have free will. You can
Or will
can
you?
say it.
Yeah, you have free will.
Oh yeah, I got free will and I forgot. Oops. Oh no, there it goes. It's the ascension. So this whole ascension thing.
No, yeah.
For me, ascending. For me, I like to think of as integration, because some of us, when you say the word ascend, for me, it's like I'm above, you're below. And I know that there are those in our group because of, especially, I will use an example. This isn't a political show, but politics is a prime example of where I have seen, because I've sat back in some shows for a little bit and I've been quiet, I've lurked, and I see people saying that, well, you shouldn't, you should be kind, have compassion for others. There are ones where say, have love and light for people. You don't know what their paths were or what their lives were, but then in the next show or heartbeat, you're doing things where yes, the person's not good, like a person like 45 or somebody that's currently in office, and yet it's okay to go around and then start saying all these awful things and laughing and making fun and saying that, well, people who follow so and so, they're going to be left behind as we're ascending. And it's like, not really. I mean, we they so that whole ascending thing, for me, it's more integrating, more understanding spiritually of where we are, because instead of looking down a lot of times on these people, like sometimes I want to feel like it, but sometimes I look down. I don't look down, but when I look at these people who support people like 45 or have maybe racist or other tendencies, it's like I'm not, what's the word, I'm not giving them, again, what's that freaking word, anyway, I'm going to skip this so I don't lose my train of thought. For us, they are our lessons. They are here to teach us. So why am I going to look down on somebody and ridicule them or make fun of saying, oh, we're leaving you behind as we're ascending, when it's those very people who are the ones that are helping us? If that makes sense.
I get what you're saying,
And
but I
instead
also
of us-
don't necessarily agree that everything should be or is a lesson. And I feel like there
Okay.
is, I agree there should be understanding, but I also
Mhm.
feel like there's sometimes toxicity in
Yes.
trying to understand that. So, but maybe that's just something I struggle with.
Stephen says the ascension thing is a new age
Yeah.
twist on the old religious dogma of the rapture. BS. Yes. So
Yeah.
for me, yet maybe not everybody, but perhaps, their actions, and again, this takes away, reiterates with the free will, but still certain actions by other people or behaviors show me how to be a better person, and then in turn it send them energy and hope that at some point their life will turn out and they will see, and maybe it's not, but for me, I just, there are going to be days when I see someone like them, because I got a lot of them in my town. I'll be like, oh, and I'll be like, yes, I know, I'm human. I will automatically sometimes go there, but then I have to kind of remind myself, when I keep hearing this, we're ascending, we're going higher, we're leaving, and it's just like, for me, I don't know if it's up, because again, there's like that the white man and the going up kind of, like, for me, it's all about, instead of saying ascension, we're integrating, we're taking more in, we're learning more, we're learning different energies, we're learning, connecting with the universe, with the planets, with the earth, which we really need to connect with. And so for me, it's all about incorporating, integrating, and growing, evolving. But for me to say ascending, to say, for me, it feels too much like I'm above and people are below me.
Yeah, but
In
remember,
a way.
you did the great teachings of Baphomet. As above, so below.
I don't follow
It's
Baphomet.
all the same. The microcosm and the macrocosm and all that. Like, ultimately
True.
I'm wondering
everything
too
is kind of the same. Yeah.
if free will is more tied to Western religions than Eastern, and it's more
Yeah.
kind of this sort of
Interesting.
self-flagellation thing where if we don't make the right decisions, we potentially will go to hell, or you know what I mean? I don't know if I hear about free will portrayed the same way in Buddhism, Hinduism, Shintoism. Somebody is going to know that better than I would out there, but I'm just wondering if maybe it stems from some of the things that have made people turn away from the Catholic Church. Not that it would be a reason for people to turn away from free will, but if it does come from the Catholic Church or some of the teachings that were within that, not solely, but a great deal of them, I'm wondering if it's part of the hypocrisy that drove people away.
Yeah. I mean, it's the carrot and the stick. It's like there's free will and then there's controlling through fear. There's
Yeah, like what Karen said. I grew up Southern Baptist, and free will puzzled me because we had the choice in that faith to be saved. Yet God knew everything about us, and it always blew my mind. Like, is God surprised when we get saved? So,
Right.
yeah, it's a lot of how we are raised, and a lot of it stems from religion. And like what Stephen said, so much of the new age movement now is really about how much pumping can we put out books and cards and a lot of all the stuff, and just it's about money making, and we've kind of lost the core of what that spirituality really is about. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry, Tom.
no, didn't interrupt at all. I had no idea
And
where I was going, so you interrupted at the right time.
and Beth said too, I believe most movements, whether cultural or political, usually begin with pure motives. They get corrupted by greedy people. Yeah. Yes. And that's where we have the free will to say, I see this and I choose not to participate. So we have the free will again until we don't. So could that be an argument that yes, everything in our life is free will? So no, not for me,
No.
because of so many other factors that to me there's just not one single answer that will be. It's like asking what's the meaning of life. Well, you're going to get, it's all going to be Hershey said, I talked to Virginia Poe once, and she had lots to say about this and so much more. I'm assuming the spirit of Edgar Allan Poe's wife. She's talking about there. And again, I apologize, chat. It's just really jumping. So I'm going to miss Star what Cosmic said. And what was it? This one right
You
here?
did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you did.
Because usually Stephen puts little arrows when I'm supposed
I
to
know.
post something. And I'm not saying you're dropping the ball, Stephen. I'm just
She's not saying it, but
an
she's
example about the politics. Yeah. So I try. To me, it's just. And there's something else I could say, but that might be a different discussion when it comes about cultures and things and stuff. When it comes to. Okay, no, I'm going to say it.
Oh boy.
Well, we were having this conversation, I think, Tom, you and I, the last time we did a Saturday night. And it's just kind of something because we're talking about, we're talking from an adult point of view, but let's look at children. And when I talk about spirituality, now, having children being asked to eat or suck on an adult's tongue, especially if you're a religious person, understandably, yes, this is a culture that this has been acceptable. Again, this is where free will, that child did not have the free will to make that choice. So they impose that free will on that child to have them do something to an adult. Whether this upset the child or not, I don't know. But this is where we have to really start taking a look, peel back at our spirituality, our beliefs, what we are willing to look at, really just expose ourselves, expose what might be shadow, what we really, it's just like sometimes we just don't want to see sometimes what we see when we look in the mirror, especially when we have things like this in this world reflecting back to us these different aspects of humanity. For me lately, I'm just very much wanting to protect the children, more now so than ever. And I understand in some cultures, some religions, this was not meant to be harmful. But why are we asking our young people, our young children, especially through social medias and through religious groups, that it's okay to, yeah, this might be a whole other conversation, but when it comes to taking away a child's free will. And again, so maybe this is not the time, but it just felt like, because that adult, I don't know, maybe I'm meant to be quiet and maybe I know a lot of people know what I'm talking about. And I have had people reach out to me and say, listen, and the Dalai Lama didn't mean any harm. He's all spirit of light. He would never, but I understand that. But still, this is a child. So and I'm not just singling him out. There's a lot of other different spiritual cultural groups where children are groomed. In America, where we are grooming our children, our young adults through social media, through mass marketing, through religious means of ways of living a certain life. And that is imposing our free will on them and taking away their free. So you kind of see, I know I went off on a way bit
Yeah.
tangent, but at the same time, here again,
Yeah, I mean,
Jeff's just sitting there going, and Tom are like, I mean, you don't need to respond, but it just felt like this is something that I just really am passionate about. And I just wish it would be brought into more people's circles, especially what we watch on TV, people's music we buy, music we stream, who, we go to pay movies for, and like Disney and like Nickelodeon, the awful things that are done to children through the adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're people. I mean, it's people that are.
This is another thing. At what age do we start to have free will, and at what age do we lose free will? Because I'm of the belief that we come into this world without it, but we also exit without it. We have no choice as to when we're going to go. And a lot of times before we go, we've lost all our faculties. So I almost feel as the curtain opens, the curtain closes the same way. And not that it's a defense of what was done, but I just wonder, at what age is it the age of reason? Is it the age before reason? Are we victims before we can even have free will? Do we make it comes back to what you said, Heather. Are we victims because, in some way we define ourselves as a victim? Are we a victim because we're a victim? All of this to me is so amorphous, and yet it's also related in its scattered nature. It's just like we're light beings, and we're all just dancing, and we're all just going freely, and sometimes we bump into one another, as Tom said, or sometimes maybe it's more graceful, like little pebbles that fall in the ocean, and it's all circles and Venn diagrams. It's just it's mind-boggling. It really is mind-boggling.
Yeah, we're all here.
But I'd like to hear people's thoughts on when free will starts.
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't even know if we've decided that there is free will. Can we even decide when it starts?
I don't know if I would call it free will. I would call personal responsibility.
Miss Tarot D,
what you
you're all
experience.
victims of cosmic orphans' bad behavior.
Oh, he wants to borrow one of the wigs.
Oh yeah, by the way, Miss Terrell D, do you have any, brunette wigs? So I'm saying brunette because Stephen didn't spell it, but if you got any wigs that are brunette, we're looking to get Stephen in drag on to join us on our channel. So and he says I can get one. But Jamie, I did see your comment. I'm going to see if I can. Yes, it is complex, and this
It's
is
extremely
where this is complex, and that's why it shouldn't be so cut, dry, and simple for some people to say, nope, this is it. This is how this
And
is.
that's all we were
If you
trying to
don't
say.
believe in
Yeah.
our group think, then your
I mean-
your opinions or your feelings or your experiences aren't valid, and that's why I wanted to do this because there have been some certain shows and certain circumstances where this conversation comes up, and it's pretty much anytime an alternative, or I don't want to say argumentative, but an objective, a different objective opinion is brought into it. It's kind of like, no, this is not, this is not how, this is, so this is my way of being able to provide a platform, an open forum
Mhm.
for all of us to be able to share what we feel, how we experience things, and it's always good to get us to think maybe differently, think outside of the box, or understand maybe a different person's perspective. And because if we don't change and evolve, then we really can't quote unquote ascend, like some people say. For me, it's all about evolving, integrating, and growing, and becoming a better species, or actually species, yes, but our own self first. I mean, for our lessons. And I know that.
And in defense of the whole idea of the ascension, the idea that we are having that human experience, but even free will, if you want to call it that, is faulty. Not that the idea of it is faulty, but maybe there are things that transcend it. But these people that on these channels that say we need to do this and this and this now, that needs to stop. Personally, in my opinion, it needs to stop, because what it's saying is I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this and it's going to yield this, when it makes the other person who's already questioning the more superficial things in their life, they deserve the same consideration of themselves. And I sometimes feel like it defeats the purpose of what these channels are.
Mm-hmm. To an extent, yes.
Yeah.
There have been some, yes. And
Yeah, I mean,
Tom,
it
was there
depends.
something you want to add?
I mean, I was just gonna. It depends on what the purpose of that person's channel was, because if it's to stroke their own ego, it might be doing exactly what that purpose is meant to be.
Or if you
But
get the bully pulpit that you want, and
yeah,
then it runs away with you, and you're not really rooted in the thing that you're saying anyway. So, or if you come away with it, like I came away with something where I like these two people, I still do, but I left. They were talking about you need to do this. It was like an October reading about the energies, and I was just like, I came away from it almost hyperventilating at the end of it, because I'm an introvert. I'm not going to do these things that maybe I should do. Or should I be jumping out of a plane? Should I learn how to fight? Should I not be such a pussy? I'm sorry, but it's like
the labels again. Yeah.
yeah.
And we all do an experience, again, like I said we said in the beginning, we all experience life at different perspectives, at different places. And for some of us, and this is going to lead perfectly, Jeff, because Jamie Johnson says, how does free will work with mental illnesses?
Yeah, I want
And
to explore that too.
Yeah.
and I have several diagnoses, and I'm not ashamed of them. Am I kind of sad that I have them because it makes life a little bit difficult to do stuff? Yeah. But again, that's being open, being proactive. Now, for me, I understand my illnesses. I know that at this point, I need medication for one of them, and that's okay. Do I know that I need to make sure I stay with my doctor so I take good care of myself, and that my mental health diagnosis doesn't have me in a volatile puts me in a volatile frame to others, but at the same time it's like, okay, this is where my free will is that I am going to learn what I can about my, I don't even know what I want to call it, my illnesses, but my diagnoses, who what makes me me, my health diagnosis. This is what makes me. And I know the signs, and I need to be proactive. And I know that at least with that free will, I can be able to move forward and say, okay, to keep myself safe, to keep my loved ones safe, my fur babies, this is what I need to do. And that's where I exercise my free will. I'm not sure if this helps, Jamie, but for me, I'm proactive by talking openly about my diagnoses. I let people know that I am up here. If anyone needs any assistance in getting information, I can always, relay numbers to call. People can reach out and comment or email to talk. I'm not a professional. I don't have any degree, but I am up here and I understand um, what it's like to have a stigma along with the mental illness, and how a lot of that can be used as a weapon against us and people in our community. But at the same time, there are those who do have the volatile diagnoses who really do need to take medication. Understandably, it might make them sick, and this is kind of where this could be maybe a whole other discussion for maybe a mental health chit chat on my channel or on another channel that might want to host me, because again, there comes to the point of free will. you know should a person be forced to take something? No, but it's also that person's free will to understand that if they don't, they could not only hurt themselves but maybe hurt somebody else. And I'm not saying this every person with a mental health diagnosis is like this, but there are those that there are diagnoses out there that is like that. So just being really proactive and really um, making sure how I take, again, instead of free will, taking responsibility and then moving forward, with that. And I
And I
thank
want
you,
to,
Jamie, for bringing this up. And go ahead, Jeff.
the thing I wanted to add to that is there are some people on these channels um, who believe that part of the soul work or the way in which modern day medicine diagnoses or treats mental illness isn't the way it should be done. It should be done through past life regressions, or it should be done through, in other words, maybe in tandem. I'm not saying they're wrong, okay, but that's another thing that I think a lot of these readers are erring on. They're wrong in that sense, because by themselves they're going to put people maybe through more pain through these regressions, and who knows what's going to come of that. But yet they're attributing, a lot of these same people who are saying that are attributing their talents, these people with the mental illnesses who are schizophrenic, their talents are actually psychic, and they shouldn't be labeled schizophrenic. They should be labeled psychic, because they're having spirits inhabit their body, and or they're getting revelations from, even though they're hearing voices, they're revelations, which maybe they are, but yet that goes back to, the stigmas that were assigned hundreds of years ago. So again, here we are, a tug of war between something and how something should be treated now versus how it was treated then. And then at the same token too, it's almost a battle against, or a combination of maybe something we would see in the future that would be a progressive way of treating it without so much emphasis on those things that Heather says could make us sick. But again, it's like Elon Musk and Neuralink. We don't know where that's going to lead. And yet we have people that are saying that maybe schizophrenia is a blessing or a gift. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it might be, but we need to be careful on these channels what we're saying, because if it comes out like that, it's still a stigma. There's no, I'm all for rendering anything in the most positive light you can if it helps you. But I don't know if that's the best approach either.
And like
Yeah.
with any show, you know, doctors, health, we are not professionals. We're only talking from our own personal experiences. And if you feel that you may need to talk to somebody, there, please contact a doctor. There are community doctors. There are clinics that you can walk into and to talk to somebody and to get help. So we're just discussing from our experiences and our point of views. So just putting that out there, and also for YouTube. So um, I'm I'm voting for Tom. IJS. What's hold on a second. I stand with my brothers. I'm not sure what that means. Um, PTSD. Okay, let's see. PTSD really affects how much I do, especially when others are involved. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a form of it. It's not an extreme form, but enough for me personally. When certain things happen that affect me in my life, and so and that was something I was talking, you know, with Allison and the Bookers last night because of my relationship with my mother and the fear at one point that I had of her. I still sometimes when I wake up, if Shan's by me, I'm thinking it's her, and I go in and I start having, you know, so it's all, yeah, it's a lot of this all kind of just overlaps and informs everything in our lives. And again, free will, just moving forward, taking responsibility, what we can by ourselves is what's happening to us. But I don't know, was there something, Tom, that you wanted to
No, not at all.
Hector's art is amazing. Yes. And Jamie Mistero D said sometimes it hits bad and sometimes it's not as bad. So yeah, we all experience it. Jokes in the chat. Okay. It's good because this can be a heavy subject. So
Yeah, that's why
and
Steven's invited always, because he keeps
yeah.
it light.
And Jamie, I talk openly about it, and it really helps to break the stigma. It does. And something I would like to do, something that Sherry, Voices from the Swamp, is doing. Check her channel or email her once a month. She brings on Isaac, and Isaac is a licensed mental health practitioner. And she invites him on once a month now to talk about certain topics, can provide referrals, worksheets, to people who may have questions in chat, who might want someone to talk to, might need more information or to share their stories, like here. So thank you, Karen. So we are at 9:14. Was there anything else we wanted to bring about with our understanding of what free will is?
Hmm. I don't know if I'm any further understanding where we are after this last hour, but I mean, I think it's given more things to think about. And
Mm-hmm.
that's always good. So
Yeah. Cosmic Orphan. Someone needs to invite Tarot Shrink. I think he told me there's a channel where he
yeah,
is a professional and he does cards. Um, sometimes I tell my counselor she is so empathic and very intuitive. I said, too bad you can't, you know, get a deck of cards and start. And she's like, no, 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 no. She goes, I'll leave that to the professional. She goes, I'll leave that to you. And I laughed. But
yeah. Tara Shrink is a really good channel. She does a lot of good
check
content.
her out. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Here's a philosophical one. Is free will always a choice, or is free will a choice? Is free will about if you make no choice, is that free will?
That's definitely still a choice. The
That's
lack
still
of
a
a
Mhm.
choice is still a choice.
Is free will and choice the same?
That I don't know.
Wait a minute. What's the question?
Are free will and choice the same?
I think having the ability to make that choice is
Yeah.
free will. So I think a choice is part of free will. I wouldn't say it's
It depends if someone's taking that choice away from you.
Yeah.
If you are in a state of mind where you make that decision, that free choice can or cannot be a negative choice. I mean, if I decide my free will is to go out and do something awful to somebody that I don't like, I'm going to think, well, that's my free will and there's my choice, but it wasn't their free will to have me go and do that to them. So free will covers not just the light and love, the good things that we do. It can also, that's what I'm saying, labels and words and stuff. Just like really start taking a look at how we label things today and how we word things. I mean, and nowadays we are in such a state of cancel culture where anything that somebody says is it seems is going to offend somebody else, and it's hard for people to be open and honest and share ideas, because if it doesn't agree with somebody, then it's going to be, well, then you're this awful person, whatever. It's just a world that we live in, and we really all need to utilize that free choice for ourselves and sit with ourselves and say, okay, what is my true authentic self? What do I really believe in? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my strong points? What would I like to develop and understand and realize that we are still all human, you know having a we're spirit beings having a human experience, um and again, the responsibility that goes behind the free choice and the free will. um yeah, it's just choose wise, like from that Indiana Jones movie with all those cups, and the Templar told him, choose wisely. Again, it's going to be different for all of us, and it's, to me, it's still no cookie cutter.
Why does it always have
It's
to be snakes?
Oh God, don't even get me started about snakes. Especially when I found out my real sky astrology says that my true sign is the snake. I was like, get the oh my God. But yeah, but that choice,
You have the choice to not follow your real sky if you don't want to.
this is true. And here, Miss Tarot D said, I think Jeff said it earlier, free will comes with personal accountability. Yeah, and responsibility. Yeah. Until
It,
someone else
it
comes
should.
along and takes it. Yeah, because I think that was the main argument, or concern for us coming into discussion tonight, was that everything that happens to us in life is all based on our free will. And that is just blatantly, how can you even,
That's kind of where I thought I was
so
going to land.
narrow,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
it's
gonna. That's
extremely
yeah. I
narrow.
was gonna be the one defending that there's no free will, and that I was gonna be punched out by people that did believe in it. That's what I thought.
I mean, I believe in free will, but not to the extent of it's everything, and to tell
Yeah.
somebody that it is everything, and it's either, oh boy, some we got people fighting outside tonight. Yay, Saturday night.
They heard
Um,
this discussion now.
but yeah.
I mean, it's
The-
it's not a black and white issue in that sense. I
yeah,
mean, I think there
yeah,
is so many different levels to the idea of free will, and the way that
it ain't
that it can interplay between us all. That I think it's a very nuanced discussion that needs to be had around it. And like we said this an hour ago. I mean, we're just going to scratch the surface. I mean, this is something that can be talked about. I mean, it's been talked about for thousands of years. Like this predates, you know, so many philosophical ideas already. I mean, this is the fundamentals of so much philosophy. But you know,
And Miss Tarot D
yeah,
says we have free will, but there's also people who want to take our free will away, thus power and control dynamics. That's why we cannot say that everything happens to us is our free will.
That's what I think. Yeah.
And then if you decide, to put an argument in there that challenges that, then what's thrown at you as well. It's either that or it's what you sign up for coming here. And again, how can you be
Or
certain?
you're complicit. What about those people that say you're complicit when you make a choice not to help somebody who's being murdered because
Yeah.
you're afraid? You've made a choice of free will, right? Have you made a
Oh, I didn't
choice
see
for
that coming.
yourself that would help yourself to survive? Is that valid? Or is it your free will betraying you?
I don't know. I didn't see that question coming.
Yeah, that's an ethical dilemma. I don't know.
That's
Um,
ethics. That's philosophy too. There's so many
Yeah.
ways, guys, you can do with this. It's so good.
Yeah. There is.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
anybody
again,
who says they have
so-
the answer, I mean, is either lying to you or lying to themselves.
I mean, it's okay to share what your opinion is, but to say that this is what I'm channeling, this is what my guides are saying, this is what this is, and this is how it, then,
I had readers on YouTube telling me I'm a pussy, so I can't help you. So you're gonna die, and I'm gonna save myself. Now I'm gonna go back to my YouTube hole.
okay. Someone didn't say that to you, did they?
No, not you.
No,
I'm
I
just
mean
saying-
somebody in our community.
No,
Basically.
no one said it, but it's a
Oh.
message I took from something. Let's put it that way.
Oh, gotcha. And Bev says, I would let the court decide on that one. But I understand I understand where Jeff was coming from, because with social media, a lot of times you see people getting attacked and people would just rather stand there and go, oh, let's get this on
Mhm.
camera. And then they don't help the person.
That's free will
And
too, to pull out
so-
the camera.
It's
Again,
free will.
free
although,
will.
although I'd argue that also can be helpful to
Yeah,
have the recording
and of course,
of a crime.
everyone has a
Well,
camera.
if there's
Yeah.
a whole group of people and one of you can't set that down, or a couple of you to help,
Yeah.
but yeah, I get. Let's see, my guides are the Three Stooges.
That tracks.
Yeah, that tracks. Let's see, Jamie. Okay, what did Jamie say? Which cup do you choose? Right? Yeah, because
Mhm.
Karen said it's kind of like the Seven of Cups. What
Yeah.
do you choose?
Yeah.
And that's where, when it comes to our personal life and how what we choose, our free will to choose for ourselves. But again, there's really no argument for somebody else's free will to come in and affect ours. And then again, of course, then it gets called instead. It gets rehashed as well. Then that's contracts, and I mean that could be another whole discussion some night if anybody wanted to.
Yeah, and there was a side discussion probably about an hour ago at this point, I think, but in the chat that I meant to bring up more, but obviously we got sidetracked on other stuff. But somebody was asking about the concept of luck, and if believing in luck and how that plays
That was
into
I.
it.
That was me.
That was
Oh, that was you. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, there you go. Okay, so we did talk about it. I don't remember now.
our
It's been a
Mr.
long
Lucky
day.
Charms right down there joining us.
So,
But
never
Jamie
mind.
says, and Jamie, I agree. I would think readers
Yeah.
should also evolve. And I agree. Shouldn't we always be trying to be better? And, for some of them, they feel that that they have the answers and they want to do right by people. But at the same time, just, reminding or letting, readers know that, this could be, but because it's come from my guides, I can't tell you how many times I've had different people tell me, well, my guides say, and this is what my guides say, and da da da. And a lot of times it's like, well, these guides are a high vibration. I understand that. But then if you're getting conflicting or what if my guide or how again, it's all about discernment.
My guides say your guides are wrong. My guides say.
My
guides.
daddy can beat up your daddy. Exactly.
Exactly.
That mentality. most definitely. And I know there are readers out there that mean really well, and they want their subscribers to feel supported and to feel comforted during a really difficult. It's difficult to be alive right now on this planet with everything that's going on. Um,
Yeah, it is.
but at the same time, not having or not willing to, you know, acknowledge that there's, differing of opinion. But then again, they can say, well, then find another reader to go or another person's channel to go follow that resonates with you. And again,
Yep.
there's your free will. If so
Exactly.
and so reader doesn't resonate with you or your energy doesn't connect and you find somebody else that does, then there's your free will to be able to go and choose that as well. So,
Or it's your free will to get confirmation bias until you get what you want to.
Yeah.
Or maybe we should just hash this out by throwing the cards on all these questions some night and seeing where they fall or the pendulum.
too.
I don't know. I've been with card. I was with cards for 3 hours today, so I think, and
Heather's
me
all
not
card
being
now.
able to really mentally be on top of it tonight. Let's see, Miss Tarot D said those are the same seekers that ask 5 readers the same question. Yeah. And I know
Well, somebody's gonna
Marina
give 'em the
and
right
Val
answer.
does this one night, and it's kind of like questioning your, spirit, like you don't trust in the message. And then, a subscriber had said openly in chat, well, and I know this person was being very authentic, and they were saying, well, you know, there are different readers with different perspectives. So is it okay to not? Is it all right not to ask another reader just to get their perspective and what they see? And yes, but in a certain way too, when you constantly ask, more than 2 or 3, then it for me, and this is me personally, it's putting out there that you're not because sometimes people look for an instant answer. I've noticed that a lot. There are people in the community who can't make a decision without asking, you know, asking on cards for everything. And then on top of that, going to multiple readers. And I think sometimes as a responsibility, and this might be another discussion for another night, is where are we become responsible as readers? We want to keep our subscribers. We want to keep them feeling like they're supported. But when do we get to the point where we are enabling them not to be able to take control of their own free will, their own path, and their own decisions, and giving them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And again, I come back to this because I've brought this up before, but part of the reason I like cards is because a lot of people will say, well, if you're reading the cards, you can avert what it is that, and what you're supposed to do is represented in the cards, right? But if you've got the right reader, and maybe that's why you go to 5 or 6 different ones because you're looking for your confirmation bias. You don't have free will at that point because you're a slave to what 5 or 6 different people are telling you. And guess what?
Yeah.
You can't make up your mind. You don't have a mind of your own. But yet, there's something mystical about reading cards, and there's something very true rooted in astrology in all of the cards. So you don't trust one, but you trust someone else indiscriminately. It's almost the same argument as someone who wouldn't believe in cards, saying that you're making your decision haphazardly by using cards. You know what I mean? It's like 6 and 1/2 dozen of another. So again, free will or not free will, and the cards, it's the reason I like cards is to me, it takes the element of free will out of it because it might be telling you what is going to happen even with a bad outcome, or it's telling you what you can do to avoid a bad outcome. I'm not going to say which one I believe because on each situation, it's different for me,
Mhm.
depending on the person. And that's the energy off the person that I'm getting. But to me, that's how I perceive reading cards, and that's why I find it so fascinating. Because someone asked me, I can't remember who it was, why do I read cards if I don't believe in free will or so much?
That was me.
Yeah,
That was me
that's why.
during at
That's why,
Hershey's, I think, or
That's why.
Thomas's.
Because I find that the world is, there are answers we do not have, and those answers we do not have are inherently what our guides want us to try to process. But we're not going to process them right. We're going to get parts of the story, and then we're going to relay it, and we're going to relay it in language that is probably wrong. So it's like, we're gonna, at some point in that chain, somebody's gonna fail. Either the person who's receiving the message, the person delivering the message, or the person misinterpreting the message, as I said, or maybe we're reading the cards wrong, or there's so many variables in it, but it's all mystical. But there's more truth in it to me than, at least because it's a divination. It's something above, as opposed to
It's a tool
boom, boom,
to help
boom.
us.
Yeah.
It's a tool, and as long as we use the tool properly and don't become a tool. Don't become a tool while using a tool.
I mean, in this community,
I just had to, put a little bit of humor, and I just noticed, I'm going, who is Dustin? And then I saw, hi, Martin Metaphysica. Welcome to my channel. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. And as Basia said, I wonder how people's philosophical concept of free will is different for people who live in other dictatorships or a cycle of generational poverty in the U.S.
I love that.
Thank you. Yes, Beth.
Sociological question, philosophical question,
huge, yeah.
Exactly.
Economic question. How does that play into it? Yeah, that's a big one.
It is. Also, so Dustin, you do Sunday morning yogas. Oh, I don't know. Oh no, she does the yogas.
Beth teaches yoga and Mrs. Dustin.
We're going to be doing yoga.
Dustin always does a live at 12:30 our time, Heather.
Okay,
So,
I'll have to check that out. Care Bear, Tara to
12,
me is
I
the
don't
one
remember.
friend who
12:30.
always tells you the truth.
Yeah, whether you want to listen or not, it's usually telling you the truth. I mean, I think the question like that I would have with that is, I mean, I'm a person who struggles with the concept of it being a divinatory tool in the sense of like divining it from something else. And this is where people get mad at me sometimes, but I definitely look at it more as I don't want to say psychological tool, because I don't necessarily look at it as a psychological tool. It's more than that. But I do think I internalize a lot of the things that I don't think you're getting it from external, where people talk about things like source and spirit and guides and things like that. I don't look at those things as things that are external from me. And it's interesting. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I wanted to bring this up earlier, and this actually ties in really well. There's a threat, I think, with a lot of mysticism and occultism, where the idea of ego comes to be a big problem. In all the definitions of ego that you can look at it, is
spiritual
my
egotism.
Is my belief that this is something that's internal, and within my own mind, or to go back to what we were talking about earlier, my own like paradigm or reality tunnel. Is that just my ego feeding me that? Am I not allowing myself to look external?
That's valid.
And it's a struggle. I think that I don't have the answer to, and I don't know if anybody really does, but it's something to think about, I think, a lot.
If we had all the answers, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly. Or you'd be paying for my course.
I mean, I know you're much more involved and studied with, because you've been rattling a few things off that I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about, but
Yeah.
okay. Um, but that's
Sorry.
where we come together. No, but this is where we come together and we learn. And later on, after everything kind of settles and, you know, coagulates a bit, and then I can go, okay, I think I might ask Tom about this. Or I can go back and I'll ask Jeff, now, what were you talking about with this last night? And so this is why I like having the open forums where we can be honest and share our different, again, our different perspectives. And I love how, Beth, you pointed that out. I mean, it's so easy for us in America to say, well, you have free will of doing this and that. But even in America, in down south, especially if you're a woman in certain states and stuff, your free will is extremely limited, you know, in whatever, you know, house. I mean, there are still people who have polygamy. You know, children are being groomed and raised at 12 years old to be married off to a 40, 50, 60-year old man. You know, how's that their free will? You know what I mean? There's just so much that involves with free will to say that everything that happens in our lives is our free will that we've done, you know, that we brought into us. That's just, to me, that holds no water. That argument doesn't, because of just so many different social, you know, social, economic, globally where you live. I mean, yeah, Ukraine, the Middle East right now, and other countries. You know, the young men and women and children that get trafficked, where's their free will? You know, so it's just something that I think, being in a spiritual community, we really need to be more mindful on, you know, and how we speak and give our messages, and hold space for others who may not have the same, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, there are some people who do talk like this. Um, and I'm not saying because they have more money than others or might be more well to do. Um, but sometimes those people in those places, because of they have more financial means to improve and to live their life, I could see them, you know, kind of saying, well, free will, but then they have to realize that not all of us, again, come from a similar background or the same financial income. I mean, money, believe me, I understand you can't buy spirituality with money, but at the same time, when you have a stronger income than other people, that gives you more of the flexibility of being able to exert more free will on what you want to do with your life and how you want to pursue your life and what you want to
Yeah.
manifest in your life.
Yeah, having money
Whereas,
allows you the ability to be able to spend free time that you
mhm,
may have because you have some means to study, to read, to watch YouTube videos, to learn
mhm,
these things where you if you do not have the luxury of any kind of safety net at all and you're
mhm,
struggling and you're working and working and working, it's
mhm,
you don't have time. You know, if you're working two or three jobs,
mhm,
you're raising a family, if you're, you know, all these things all at the same time, you're not going to have the ability as to some, you know, trust fund you know, person or any varying level in between, um to be able to study in that way. When we're just talking about an idea of spiritualism, I mean, there's so many other arguments that we can get into
mhm,
with this whole concept. But if we're just really looking at it in the spirituality framework, I mean, there's so many different ways. Now, that being said, I mean, there's also great life lessons that you're learning through experience as well that you may or may
mhm.
not see at the time. But direct experience is always very helpful.
And I know in Niagara Falls we have a problem, as with other cities, with gangs. And some of these kids are like, well, why don't they just get out of the game and get out of the state and start life? A lot of people don't realize, when you live in a certain part of town, or you're part of a gang, or you're part of a religious system or something, there are a lot of times you have no free will, because the minute you try to exert your free will, that could very well be the end of your life. So
Mhm.
again, there's another, you know,
Mhm.
example where, for me, the free everything's all free will just can't stand. Um, and so yeah, this is something that we can go, on for quite some time. Such a philosophical topic, really. Yeah, it's philosophical. It's
Sociological.
physical. Yes, social. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
it just.
economic, I think,
Hmm.
too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's
exactly. And then there's
transcendental.
some people who have so much money and they choose to live a disgusting, evil, gluttonous life, where you know. Um, So it doesn't necessarily have to do, I mean, yeah, it's basically really who you are as a person. And it depends on, but if everything is just all, free will, it just can't. Um, Hold on a second. I just saw something here. This convo makes me feel grateful for what I do have. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, that's the one good thing too. I mean, like, to kinda go back a little bit with what I was saying, I mean, we live in a time now where things like the internet, while can be extremely problematic, at times, and maybe ultimately detriment to society as a whole, but, it also evens the playing field a lot now. There's a lot of
mhm,
information available. There's a lot, you know I think about trying to, we're the three of us are of a similar age, and I feel like if you think about the pre-internet times when you're like talking about music, like just even music, or authors, or anything that you're reading. I mean, like, to find new stuff or to dig deep, it was a lot more work. There was a lot more
Mhm.
effort that had to be done to, we didn't have a Spotify to just go in and plug and look at related artists, and like
yeah.
all this stuff. I mean, we had to like look through the liner notes and look through,
Get
read
that
the
cassette tape in
interviews.
there and your
Exactly.
radio station and wait for them to play that song. Hope they don't talk over it and get that mixtape in. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's great that we live in a time like this now where you can literally, for like $50 have a Kindle, an Amazon Kindle, and hold your whole library in one little thing, that like is
Mhm.
going to, or you're on your phone. You could have
iTunes, I have multiple playlists, 12
exactly,
bucks a
yeah.
month,
You have everything and anything you want on there. You have any great book you have
Yeah.
access to for, a nominal fee, but or not even, because with Libby or something like that, you have your access to libraries, and there's so much knowledge that's available now that wasn't. Um,
Hmm.
and that
Yeah.
changes the concept, I think, of the way that it can apply to free will, in the sense of you have choices of if you want to follow those things or not. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but there's a lot of
That's
options
how I
now.
felt tonight a couple
Yeah, it's
times.
just, I feel like I get like a train going and then it just derails. But it's Saturday night.
And it's exhausting too, because we are really trying to tap in to, I remember experiences and it's like trying to tangible, put words to things that are non-tangible, or our emotions and our understandings, and you're trying to,
Yeah,
you know, it's like pulling from the ethers. Um,
yeah,
and Miss Tarot G said, I feel that when someone with more power exerts their free will on someone else, we can't say that the person who was the victim had their free will do something about it, because isn't victim blaming.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. I think I understand that. It's just been amazing conversations. Michelle has joined us and she's been sharing too. The Chinese economy is suffering because the oligarchy at the top has grown completely out of control after they implemented the social scoring system. Yeah, in 2000, they can't get people to work, and it's awful. It's like if you don't, score certain points, they can take money off of your bank account. They can close your bank
Mhm.
account. There's video cameras all over the place. If you're caught not smiling for a block or two or so, I mean, it's just absolutely insane what a lot of these countries are doing to their people and how they've infiltrated our own country as well, um, through, that's like another whole other topic, but through commerce and everything, especially China and through our apps. People don't realize TikTok is China based. That people who created TikTok, that is based on a program that the Chinese government wanted to create it to do what Michelle was stating, being able to implement, ways of keeping an eye on people and scoring them and, watching what, how they felt, what they said about the country and everything. So that program, was created and put into TikTok. So I'm kind of iffy on TikTok. So there's just a lot of having to again peel back the layers and just be aware of, you know, I mean, we can't be aware of everything. I mean, there's just so much involved now. You can just kind of like a Hail Mary pass. Do I want to accept this? Okay, go ahead, and hope that, you're not going to get hacked or anything. And here we go. Thank you, Stephen. Um, can we talk about love and light now, please? Where's my hug deck? um, Heather, we still need to have a music talk night. Yes,
Yes, yes, yes.
especially with Tom and whoever wants to jump on, during the live, talk about their favorite music, their memories. Like Professor Rock actually released a video today on the Monkeys and on Daydream Believer and stuff, which was pretty cool. But we've been watching them. A lot of things I've been learning about, bands and where songs come from, and how they've touched people's lives, and how telecommunications has just basically taken away all the original DJs, and now there's a design playlist that you have to play what they tell you to play and use the same people. So that's why so much music just sounds the same on all these channels. It's just the ability to really have the type of music and the charts and what's on the radio is completely lost now. And thank goodness for indie stations like on Spotify and whatnot, because at least you get to hear music that you won't typically be able to hear on the radio. um oh, I love the Daily Show. I'm so glad that I could not believe, I had no idea Jon Stewart came back. I didn't realize he was gone for 9 years, almost 10 years. I thought it was only maybe about 5 years that he'd been gone. But now that he's back, I'm just like, John's back. So, okay. Agreed. Yep. So, yes, hugs, love, and light to Beth, to everybody. That was always Tom Petty's bitch, too. Yep, about the music. Oh, yeah. And I
Yeah.
learned something interesting, that the second album that the Monkees put out, they didn't know they put the album out. They were at a record store and came across their second release. And they're like, wait a minute. What, and so this is just how they were really manipulated from the beginning. And it took the third album for them to actually be able to start getting music and writing credits and stuff and being allowed to be able to play on the album and whatnot. It was really interesting. My father went to heaven the same day Tom Petty did. Oh, wow, Karen.
Mm.
Wow. Well, I'm sure he went to an incredible concert that night on the other side. If he was a Tom Petty fan, I love how some people say when we lose, loved one, musicians and stuff. But yep, no, they're not gone. They're just, playing a show tonight on the other side, they're okay. So,
I saw the Monkeys play in 1986, and they did like a reunion tour. I was lucky
Mhm.
enough to go see them.
I caught the second one. Yeah.
It
the
was
second
like
show.
them and like Gary Puckett in the Union Gap and Herman's Hermits. But
Mine was Weird Al. You got lucky. I was just like, ugh, Weird Al.
yeah,
And
it
he
was,
ran past me.
although,
I was like,
but I
"Yeah." I'm like,
didn't.
no.
When I saw them, I think who was it? I think Mike Nesmith wasn't playing with them, like
No,
on that
because he was
tour.
the one that got absolutely frustrated.
Yeah,
He said that
which was disappointing.
Not Daydream Believer, I'm a Believer, was a crap song, and it was going to do crap on the charts because at that point they were getting frustrated with Kirshner because Kirshner
Yeah.
kept saying, "Yeah, okay, guys, we'll get you to play," and he kept blowing them off and kept lying to them.
Did Neil
And
Diamond write that?
yes, he did.
Okay.
And we learned that Neil Diamond initially didn't want, to give because he wanted, half the royalties or whatever. But they worked something out where Neil could, record it on his home and make money off of it that way. But later on, he said he was thrilled when it did so well. But yeah, Mike Nesmith was kept from singing at all on that song. They kicked him out of the studio, and that ended up being, their biggest hit out of their whole career was "I'm a Believer." And then of course you had Smash Mouth destroying it. I hated that
Yeah.
version of it for the Shrek movie. I'm like, oh god. But I
And that
digress.
poor guy, he's dead.
Yeah,
Yeah. He died. Yeah.
Like in his 40s of alcoholism or something that led to his
I-
liver. Or, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was
That's
alcoholism. Yeah,
Beth, did you really? I got to meet Mickey when he was here for a car show in Buffalo back in 88 or 89. I don't have the picture anymore, but yeah, I got him to sign my shirt and sign my, my jean jacket, that I had. So that was pretty cool. But wow, you got to meet all of them. Wow. Peter seemed so soft spoken. He was such a kind soul, and at least they were able to kick, the drugs and the alcohol. So yeah. But, yeah, me too.
good band.
That's yes.
The best
Davey
boy
was
band
so
ever.
good. Okay. Yeah. I've been here. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we are at 9:54, you guys. I've had a long day. I appreciate Tom, Jeff coming and joining me this evening to have this conversation. I hope we don't leave people walking away. No, actually, no, because I hope people don't leave with more questions than answered. But no, it's good to have
Oh, I did.
questions
I'm leaving with more questions. So
because that makes us think. Now we can kind of sit down and go, okay, well, so and so said this, but how do I believe? And this is when we start journaling and we start tapping into what we feel is authentic for ourselves, and then when we act from and think from and love from a place of authenticity, then we're much more able to bring that like energy towards us and
it can
make this
influence
world a
your
better
art
place.
too. It can very much influence your art to question things.
Yes. And speaking of art, really quick, tomorrow Jeff will be joining. Ramon from Moon Scarab will be joining Jeff and I for poetry and tarot. And then on Monday afternoon at 3 p.m., Jonathan Daly and I are going to be doing a live painting together. I've
Wow.
never done that before, so
I
I
can't
don't know
wait to
how I'm
see
going
that.
to do this.
When I
gotta
saw
figure out
that, I went, "Oh God, I can't wait to see this." That is
I don't
so
know if I
cool.
can paint because of my, packing and trying to get stuff put together, but we'll be doing some sort of art at the same time. So everybody in chat, if you have art, materials at home too, you want to just pull them out and we'll have one big, art session. That'll be great. Oh, and Miss Tarot D will be the model for the session. The adult model.
we'll be tuning in then.
Okay. Our next week's discussion, Tom. What came first? The chicken
Oh,
or
nice
the
easy
egg?
one. Okay, good. All right.
But no, I would love to do this every other Saturday because Tom joins Thomas and Hershey when he can on Saturday nights for the Spirit Box sessions. So whenever you have a Saturday night free, hit me up, Tom. Let me get
Definitely.
these topics. I love being able, because I also learn from you. I learn from Jeff. I learn from people in chat, and
Yeah.
and that's what I love to do. I need more life drawing. I've been going through my college stuff, and I have a few pieces left, and it's just, I can't believe it's almost 30 years old already, or pretty much 30 years old. So it just blows my mind. Boston was my first concert, and then Bread. Oh, very cool, Jamie. Very, very cool. But John Denver's full of shit, Dumb and Dumb.
Yeah, because I said John Denver was my first concert.
Oh my goodness. The Monkees were my first concert. Yeah. But then the next one I think was Whitesnake. That was
Okay.
pretty cool. Or was it? Never mind. It was one of those groups. So anyway. Oh, see, now I would love to see the Spice Girls. But that's not going to
I'm just
happen.
making that up. I have no idea.
Oh.
I'm just going by his, since he made a comment about only being months old in 1986.
Oh God. Yeah. Peter Gabriel was mine. Wow. Shot the monk. I love that song. That's my favorite Peter. That and Digging in the Dirt. I love that line.
Yes,
Digging in
the
the
Us
dirt,
album is my
finding the
favorite
places where
album.
I've been hurt. That line has always stuck with me over the years. I wasn't, super big on the, his big hits and stuff, but that
Love to
second
Be
album,
Loved from
Yeah.
that album, Us. Yeah.
BB King, wow, and Cher was the second. Fleetwood Mac. Oh, I never got to see Fleetwood Mac, but I did get to see Stevie Nicks. She was amazing.
I saw her
Back in
too.
2007. Yeah. Modern Fid, you gonna let Tom get away with that? Bring it to him. Uh-oh. Tom, are you starting fights in the chat?
Maybe.
Oh, with Spice Girl. Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Oh, you saw Fleetwood Mac pre Lindsay and Stevie. Okay. Wow. Yeah. He was a real dick one time, and he kicked her on stage right in front of everybody after their. I'm surprised that band did not break up and implode after that second. I don't know how they held that shit together all these years. Man. But they eventually got kicked out again anyway, so, and we just lost Christy McVie last year, I think it was last year. So yeah, a lot of people that I grew up listening to. It's hard,
Yeah.
hearing them go. Oh, you cried through the whole thing. Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, I'm sorry about your divorce, sweetheart, but you're crying out. I was 10th row from the stage, and I was disappointed she didn't sing certain songs, but she did sing. I mean, I got to hear Gold Dust Woman, and she opened up with Stand Back, so it was a good concert. It was over way too soon, but yeah. So everybody, again, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you on one of our next shows. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you on, like I said, on the next show. Night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.